Welcome to the Quickscreen Show. I'm your host, Nate Ballball, head football coach of the Champaign Central Maroons, alongside Coach Mark Dodd, head football coach of the Bismarck Henning Blue Devils. They had a great year this year. Was it 10-1?
Yes,
Coach?
sir.
10-1, and they were a load. I can tell you because we played them. Coach, first of all, thanks for joining me here. Tell me about your season, just as a whole. If you summed it up in 2 minutes, tell me about that season.
Well, you have seasons like that where you kind of see it coming. You get these kids in as freshmen, and schools our size, around 350 kids. A lot of those kids with talent, they'll play as sophomores, and and you've been there. It's you can see it down the road when these kids are all, if they all stay with it, if they keep working hard and they get to be seniors, you got a chance. And so that's kind of what we had, and it was a lot of fun, good kids. They knew they were going to be good, and they expected to be good, and they weren't too cocky about it. They just went about their business, and they allowed us to coach them. And that's the other thing. You have those groups of kids. They have the talent, but by the time they're seniors, they're smarter than you. So this group was a lot of fun.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we played you guys. Like I said, we got smashed. Was it 40-6, 42-6? 40-something to 6. I know it was lower 40s though. We got smashed. You guys were just much too much for us, and I know you guys were good enough to make a very deep run and lost a heartbreaker. Was a 7-6, maybe second round.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the beauty of the playoffs though, is that it's tough and you got to win some close ones.
It certainly is.
And that was a tough one.
Yeah. And we kind of hang our hat on trying to be the most physical team on the field every Friday night, and I think our kids have really started to buy into that. And, weight room and just that whole, once you're a football player, you're in the football family, and we're gonna push you to be the best you can be, and not every kid will respond, but the gamers really have come through, and I think that helps the next group coming in. They can see what the graduating seniors had accomplished, and then they know that it's their turn, and they got to put in the time also. So,
well, I can attest to that. I know that just talking to a coach or two that also has to play you, a lot of the teams are pretty intimidated by you guys right now because you guys you're big, physical, and you really play hard-nosed football. And a lot of teams that you played this year, by the end of the first or second quarter, they were done playing. Did you see any of that?
Yeah, we did, and I think our kids, our players were experienced enough, and they know, you can look around and you're big too. And,
sure.
And that's one of the biggest teams I've ever had, but they were athletic also. But they would come over, early in a game, in the middle of the first quarter, we'd score or whatever, and I'd have a couple kids come up to me and say, "Coach, they're done." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And kind of what you were saying, sometimes that does happen, especially with high school kids.
Sure.
Their egos are fragile a lot of times. So I've been on the other side of that also. So
sure.
I know how that feels when we played Westville in their heydays in my first couple of years here, and we'd be losing 28-0 at the end of the first quarter and hadn't touched the ball yet.
Right.
And I looking around and just, why are my kids all terrified? And now I understand.
Yeah, they were, and you guys were an intimidating team. Today we're going to talk about, our topic is how to keep a healthy rivalry. So Coach and I, we played each other for 4 years, and fortunately somehow, and I had to pull off a miracle at one point, but we were able to beat you guys the first 2 years, and then the last 2 years they smashed us good, both times. But yet somehow, despite that, we've been able to keep a healthy relationship. We're not best buds. We don't grill out at each other's houses or anything. But we respect each other, I feel like, and that's always been there. And that's good because, there's coaches out there that when he and I see each other, we don't really want to talk. Might even kind of avoid each other. That still bothers me. I'm not okay with that with anybody. I wish I could have that healthy relationship with everyone. So I wanted to talk today about how you find a way to build some sort of healthy rivalry amongst coaches rather than despise each other, because we both want to win, but how do you keep that?
I think football coaches are the most competitive people in the world, and you have to be to go through those years when you're not very talented, and yet you still want to get the best out of kids. And then you have those games that as a coach that you lost. Your kids did everything they could, and you blew it. And then and then you have those teams that sometimes step up and go beyond what you ever expected. So we all want to win. We all want to be competitive. And as I've gotten older and in this profession, I put a lot less emphasis on the score. We don't talk about the score. We don't really even talk about winning. We talk about winning each play. We talk about doing doing things right, and technique and all the little things. And then we just kind of coach our kids now. It's like the score will take care of itself at the end. As far as other coaches go, I think it's just a respect thing. You have coaches that they all you got to know when you flip the coin at the beginning of the game. That guy across you is going to do everything in his power to beat you. And I always go into it thinking it's a chess match. I have to. I got my team that they've been preparing all week, and your team's been preparing all week. But when it comes down to it, in the middle of the game, you have to, at some point, outsmart or outpredict what the other coach is going to do, and to put your kids in the best position. So the guys that outsmart me, like you have, I get mad at it, but I can respect it, because none of us, I don't care who you are, none of us want to go home at night and go, gosh, that coach is better than me.
Right.
And even though we all say it and we all think it and we all know it, we've run into those things, but that's when you just have to bite your lip and just say, he beat me today, and then get over it.
Right.
And shake his hand the next year and figure out a way not to have it happen again.
Well, let's talk about some not to do's. In order to keep healthy relationships with other coaches, let's think of what not to do. Can you think of some things that would be, avoid doing this because you're only setting yourself up for a very long bad relationship?
I think one big thing is never publicly, or even really to too many people, ever accuse another coach of playing dirty. Even if you believe it, even if you think you might be, never say it, because that is the one thing I think that all of us would take personally. And I have enough faith in coaches and teachers that all of us are in this for the right reason, that I don't think any of us ever coach any player to be dirty. And late hits and all the stuff that kids say goes on. I know that no coach is telling their players to do that. So when that's said, or that gets around, that they're dirty. That is where you're going to destroy any kind of relationship with another coach, in my opinion, because I couldn't hear that without taking that to heart.
Right.
Players, kids, they're going to all do silly things. They're all going to do things that are dirty.
Right.
Not all players, but I'm saying that, every team is going to have a couple kids that are going to live on the edge all the time.
Right.
But we certainly don't want to ever encourage it, and you don't want to ever accuse another coach. Right. I think that's the cardinal sin.
And I think sometimes coaches don't realize. Sometimes I think they say it. It's almost easy to say. You love your kids. We all love our kids, and when one of our kids is in danger or maybe getting outmanned, we feel for that kid, and our own emotions get the best of us. And I've heard coaches say that so-and-so's dirty. But I always stop and say, listen, do you really, if you stop and think about it, can you really picture that man in a segment in his practice saying, okay, he's down, now go hit him again. I want you to block. To really imagine a coach truly coaching that would take a really rotten human being, a pretty rotten person, to truly coach to be dirty. And I think it's really pretty ludicrous thought.
Yeah, and that coach won't last long.
Right.
It's just not something that's allowable with high school kids. And here's a good example. We really stress to our kids blocking to the whistle. Okay, block to the whistle, block to the whistle, block to the whistle. Matter of fact, in the preseason when we're getting trained, we go on 2 whistles. We blow the whistle to blow the play dead, and then we fit every block, and then we make them sit in there, and then we have a finish period where we actually drive the player to the ground. And sometimes we're driving the player to the ground, and right when the whistle blows, and to a casual fan or observer or someone that's getting beaten, that might be thinking that, well, we're playing dirty.
Right.
You know, obviously kids, you stop on the whistle or whatever else, but that's how we want to play. We want to play physical. We want to play to the whistle, and sometimes feelings get hurt along the way. But is that dirty? No. Is that good football? Yes. Can a kid carry that too far? Absolutely. And then we look back in time when we weren't very good. There were teams that, if you're standing around a pile, which our kids often tended to do, and someone's going to come up and clean you up and knock you on your butt. And I remember our kids were like, after one game against an opponent, it happened 2 or 3 times, and we're looking at film, and the kids are like, "Coach, late hit. That's a late hit. It's a late hit. They're dirty." I was like, "No, that's you standing around. That's you standing around in the wrong place. The ball's right there, and what are you doing? You should be in on the tackle. You should be helping your teammates. You should be doing something besides standing there watching." I said, that's football. That's the way we want to play. So, dirty, I don't know. That's no good. But physical, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a physical game. And we all talk about being physical, and then sometimes we get worried about physical when we're getting whipped. I mean, that's what it's really about. It's when you're getting whipped. The second thing I thought, and this is an idea I had, always, 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 under all circumstances, after a loss, shake the other coach's hand, and don't talk about anything that's bothering you. If one of his kids screwed up, if one of his kids said something inappropriate, if the school, they did an onside kick with so many minutes and they're passing the ball up 40, don't say it now. You probably should never say it. But especially at meeting in the midfield and shaking his hand and having something to gripe about. To me, that's a big no-no.
You are absolutely right. And what do we tell our parents? Right? I think we all have parent meetings, and we say to our parents, if you're mad about something at a game, please wait. Wait till the next day. Come to my office. Come call me. Don't talk to me right after the game, because all of our emotions are probably pretty high, whether we're real happy or real sad. Mm-hmm. And that's the same type of thing. Shake the hand, look the man in the eye. Good game. And then if you're mad about something, walk away, but be classy. And it's happened, I'm sure, to you. And you've probably been on the other end too, where you started talking about something at the wrong time, and that can lead to trouble. And we don't want grown-ups having trouble. We're there to model for our kids, and we need to zip it up sometimes too.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the best thing. When you get there after the game, shake hands, say good job, and just move on. And that's really it. And when you win, shake hands, say good job, and maybe just move on too, because the guy got beat, and he's sensitive, and it's best to, honestly, probably just keep your distance after the game. Be polite, shake hands because you have to, and go about your business. And that way, everyone can have that 24-hour period to heal. Because the next morning, that coach is probably willing to talk to you again. But if the wrong thing is said at that moment, you got trouble, and you've ruined a relationship. Moving on to a third thing, we can keep going. This is kind of a final thought that I have. Would take it where we want. Now the game is over. So the game is over, and now you're going to get people in your face that want to know about the game, reporters. What do you say? What do you not say, Coach?
Number one, you talk about your kids, your team, your program. Try to deflect anything about yourself out of it. Don't talk about the other team except maybe some compliments, regardless of what the score was. They're a good team. They're well coached. Stop talking.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You're exactly right. That's funny though, because people sometimes read the papers on Saturday mornings, and parents of your players, why'd you say this? People need to understand we are answering questions asked.
Right.
It's not like we have a forum, like this, where we can talk about whatever. We're being asked a question. We try to give an answer, and it isn't always a question that all the parents want to ask or want to know the answer to. So,
right.
That's gonna be a little bit tricky also.
Oh,
sometimes
absolutely.
you can look bad in the paper the next day, and it was not at all what you intended, or really how it was said. So.
Yeah, but you have to know that your opponent is going to read it too. I mean, we all want to read the article. We're not coaching U of I where there's 1,000 articles written. we're coaching small school football or high school football where there's 2 or 3 papers that might have an article. We're going to read them. After our game last year, we got smashed. I remember reporters asking, "Hey, what was the difference?" And I want to say, they're awesome, and we're just not. I mean, they blasted us. That's what you want to say, but you're right. You get grilled, and they asked me like 3 times some of the similar questions, like, "What could you have done differently? Like, what was the game changer?" I'm like, "I don't know a game changer. The game changer, I guess, was that." They could score when they wanted and we couldn't. Those are the things you want to say. But you do have to be careful because everyone's going to read it. Your team, their team, everyone. And if you do want some sort of relationship or at least to not have to avoid your opponents forever, you got to be smart there.
Yeah, and avoid sarcasm. And that's, my personality, I'm kind of a jokester and pretty lighthearted, sarcastic in a lot of ways. But
doesn't translate well in the paper.
Doesn't read real well the next day because you don't have quite the voice inflection when it's in the print. So you got to be really careful. Just, stick to the old cliches. One game at a time. We gave it our best try. We'll try to get them next week.
You're exactly right. Cliches are the best. So even though all those things were going through my mind when they're asking them, what came out was more like, well, they're very well coached. They're very well, that's all you can say because you guys smash us. So I learned lessons through that. And I've learned lessons through other guys. Like, I personally like reading articles. Let's say you were playing someone else. You're in a real big game, let's say for the conference title. You and Salt Fork this year. I like reading those articles and you find a coach you respect. And I like seeing what he said. And you kind of pull ideas from other coaches. You ever do any of that?
Absolutely, yeah. And, I think as much as we're competitive, our coaches network does a great job of sharing information, clinics and your websites like yours and a lot of things like that. That same guy that you might be mad at for 20 years because he's beaten you too many times. Sit down and have a cup of coffee with him and talk football. Would probably end up being buddies. Like that's been my experience. Because I think we're all pretty good guys, and again, we're very competitive people.
Yeah,
that shouldn't ruin a lot of the good things that we do.
Yeah. Well, we all have the same profession. We love the same game. We got an awful lot in common. We just have to fight with each other once a year.
Yeah, that's right.
So that makes a little strange relationship.
And the thing is, sometimes it's so hard for parents especially, and even community members sometimes, but sometimes it's not our fault. Sometimes it's not our players' fault. Sometimes the other team is better. They're coached well, we're coached well, we're going to go out there and battle it out, and one team's going to win. And sometimes that's just the game. And our playoff loss to DuQuoin, was a 7-6 game. Just a physical football game, and obviously it's very disappointing to lose at that level. But you shake your kids' hands, and what do you say? It's like, we played hard, played fine. Sometimes you just got to give credit to the other team and go on. So,
amen to that.
It's not a blame game.
Yeah, avoid the blame game, and you can keep some healthy relationships amongst your coaching peers. Men, thanks for joining me today. You had me, Nate Albaugh, and Coach Mark Dodd, Bismarck Henning Blue Devils. And until next week, men, coach them up.